Hello there, morons! It's Victor, King of the Morons. Welcome back to another Japanese sentence breakdown. This is actually take two because, thanks to these videos, I'm learning quite a bit about the very nuances, the specifics of Japanese, things that I don't think about being arguably pretty fluent. But, you know, I got these basic sentences covered, I thought. But the last video, this is the first take of this video, which I have now privatized, had a mistake in it that I never realized, but it made me look into it. So today's video is going to be extra good in that it's going to be a lot of information. And you'll probably want to come back to it sometime in the future. But for those of you who are new to Japanese, don't worry. We will, give you the solid, the basics here. For those of you who are a little more advanced, I'll delve into a little more detail. Okay. Anyway, let's start with today's sentence, which is very simple, and we're going to go backwards. Repeat after me. We'll talk about the meaning in a minute. And let's start with the blue here. Ready? I, shi, atarashi, 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 wa, atarashi, wa, atarashi, kuruma, 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 kuruma wa atarashi. Kuruma wa atarashi. No. No. No kuruma wa atarashi. No kuruma wa atarashi. Kare no kuruma wa atarashi. Kare. Kare no kuruma wa atarashi. Kare no kuruma wa atarashi. Kare no kuruma wa atarashi. Let's look at the hiragana. For those of you who are studying Japanese hiragana, you got to get the hiragana down. I'll break it down. And of course, you've already seen the meaning. His car is new is the meaning. Kare, he. Kare no, his. Kuruma, kuruma. That one kanji is kuruma. Wa, wa. That's the ha hiragana, but when it is a subject marker, it is pronounced as wa. Atarashi. Atarashi. His. Let's go slowly. He, his car is atarashi. Okay, let's get to the pattern. The pattern here is somebody's something is adjective. In this case, somebody, him, his something is the car, kuruma, and it is an adjective. The adjective is new. His car is new. That's the sentence. Okay. Now, something interesting about this is the word in Japanese for he and for her is also boyfriend or girlfriend, depending on context. And the sign language of boyfriend in Japanese is the thumb. I don't really use these very often, but once in a while it's a joke, the thumb and the pinky. Not like thumbs up, but I think you kind of hold it like that just to indicate boyfriend and girlfriend, okay? So kare and kanojo. Kanojo. Now, notice the kanjis, and by the way, everything that I'm talking about now is in the description, so you're free to, I in fact encourage you to copy that out and put it into another file so you can study it later. Anyway, the kanji for kare is one, this kanji here, and kanojo, you'll notice that kanojo, the first part of kanojo is also the kanji for kare. And then we add ona at the end, which is woman, but when you put these together, they take on a completely independent pronunciation, which is kanojo. Often in Japanese, they will just, it's not arbitrary, but they basically force the pronunciation on the kanji that match it. So him and her would be, I would almost say it's sexist because you got to have a him and the her, right? Like woman has the word man in it. It's a little bit like that, right? So the word woman, the word her has man in it, has a him in there. Anyway, kanojo. So let's learn both of these at the same time. Kare, kanojo. Kare, him, and kanojo, her. But when you add no to it, no, remember, is the particle that acts as it turns the previous noun into a possessive, very much like the apostrophe s. So you add it to anything and it becomes possessive of the following noun. In this case, kuruma, right? So kare is he, kare no is his, and kuruma is car, so it would be his car would be kare no kuruma. Kare no kuruma. Okay, now the next kanji here is kuruma. That's one simple kanji. If you put, that's the kunyomi, meaning the Japanese pronunciation. Most kanjis, not all, but most kanjis have two or more, many more pronunciations. And it really depends on the case. Think about it as a vowel in English. Sometimes the English A is pronounced ah, sometimes ah, or O will be pronounced O or ah as well, you know. It depends. It's a case-by-case situation. Anyway, so kuruma is car, but jidosha is automobile. It's a little bit more formal. Of course, car and automobile are basically the same thing. One's a bit more formal. But notice in the kanjis here, you have kuruma there for car, and we have jidosha. It's the same kanji, but in this case, it's pronounced sha. You'll see this kanji a lot, and if you're traveling around Japan, you'll notice it. So it's good to get it out of your ways. And it kind of looks like a car, doesn't it? It looks like the axle of a car, with the wheels in the front and the body and the back wheels, right? That's the way I see it. Anyway, looks like a car. So that's kuruma. There's jidosha, and there's densha. It's good to learn them, I think, in a group. Anyway, then we have the topic marker, which I mentioned before is the hiragana ha, ha, but when it's the topic marker, it's pronounced wa. And the adjective today, which is atarashi. Atarashi, which is new. And today I'm going to teach you how to turn something interesting about Japanese adjective off the bat. English adjectives are just alone. They just exist alone, as in new. You can't really, well, you have a comparative like newer and newest, but you don't have a past tense. And you can't turn a new into a negative by adding something. There's no, I guess you could say unnew, but anyway, we don't really say that, right? But in Japanese, any adjective, especially remember we talked about in previous videos, the e ending adjective or the ikeyoshi adjective can be turned into a negative just simply by dropping the e and adding kunai. Drop the e, and I separated there so you can see it better, but I drop the e and you add kunai. So here we have atarashi, new, and atarashikunai, not new. Atarashikunai. Atarashi desu ka? Atarashikunai. So if you have a new shirt, oh, atarashi desu ka? You've never seen me wear the Kellogg's Hawaiian shirt, right? Atarashi. You might say, hey Victor, atarashi desu ka? No, I say, atarashikunai. Atarashikunai. It's not new. In previous videos, we learned the adjective ooki, big, and simply how would you conjugate that? Or turn into a negative, negate it, I guess. Ookikunai. Ookikunai. Atarashi, atarashikunai. Once you get a few under your belt, all the rest are easy. Let's try one, right? I already showed you if you peeked at the bottom. Furui. Furui is old. Why not? If we're learning new, well, might as well learn the actual opposite of new, which is old. This cannot be used for people, however. Things are old. People are not old. You say that in a different way, which we'll get into in a future video. Anyway, furui is old. You might notice, while we're at it, that I live in Nagoya, and well, I'll get back to that in a minute. Okay, the opposite. Let's stick with it. I get my brain gets all over the place because I want to teach you so much. I'm so excited to teach you. So remember, you drop the e and you add kunai. See, right up there. So drop the e of furui and you add kunai, and you get furukunai, not old. And now, while my mind's on this, Nagoya is the city where I live. And another great way to learn kanji is just to learn the cities. Learn a few cities because they use kanji, of course. This is name, na. This is old. Where is it? Can I get there? Yeah, old. And this is ya. This is often at the end of a store, like hanaya or kurumaya san. Yeah, like an automobile dealership would be well, maybe that's a garage. I'm not sure. Kurumaya san. And you add san as san like a Mr. at the end of a word. I would be bigta san, right? And you often hear san at the end of store names. Not sure why exactly, because it's a store. Maybe it's just to be polite. Anyway, Nagoya is a proper noun, but you'll notice that it actually means old, name, old store. That's literally what it means. That's a town name. Anyway, good way to remember kanji. Now that we've got that in under our belt, we learned today, kare no kuruma wa atarashi. And that means his car is new. If you want to say his car is big, you would say kare no kuruma wa ooki. If you want to say it's not big, kare no kuruma wa ookikunai. If you want to say his car is old, kare no kuruma wa furui. If you want to say it's not old, kare no kuruma wa furukunai. So we've done a bunch of these basic sentences, and you can change it to anything. For example, do you remember how to say mai as a casual mai? Casual mai is boku. Boku, only for boys. Boku no shatsu wa atarashikunai. It's not new. Okay, it's atarashikunai. Anyway, let's give you one more vocabulary word for those of you who already know the word new. Shinpin. Shinpin is brand new. Shinpin is a noun. If you want to turn it into an adjective, you can just, and have it modify another noun, you can just add no to it. As we know, no, adding no to something turns it into an apostrophe S. It's a possessive particle. So, watashi no, or boku no kuruma wa shinpin desu, right? Or, boku wa shinpin no kuruma ga hoshii. What does ga hoshii means? Well, that's a kind of weird sentence to say, but kare no shinpin no kuruma wa, how about that one? Ooki desu. How about his new, well, you know, shinpin no kuruma ga hoshii. How about that? Yeah, that's a good sentence. Shinpin no kuruma ga hoshii. I want a new car. I want a brand new car. Shinpin no kuruma ga hoshii. Shinpin no kuruma ga hoshii. And hoshii, by the way, is want. This is the kanji for hoshii. Ga hoshii desu. Adding hoshii to anything just means I want it. So let's learn that. These sentences get so old, so long. Let's do it in English first. Shinpin no kuruma ga hoshii. And if you want to, you can say desu, but not necessary. And of course, you can say boku no if you want to. Remember, in Japanese, the subject is often if the subject, if the person is the subject, if the subject of the sentence is known, you just drop it. Like kare. If you know, if we know we're talking about him, you don't say kare. No, just drop it. Especially when you're talking about yourself, we often don't say watashi or boku or ore. And if I'm talking to you and it's obvious, I don't say anata. You either use your name or nothing. So if the subject is obvious, we often drop it, which can be confusing, which is one reason Japanese are saying boku. Are you talking to me? Even if there's no one in the room. Watashi? Are you talking to me? Which is, it's kind of weird because, yeah, nobody else is in the room, man. Who else could I be talking about? So let's write this sentence in kanji so you can get that under your belt. Boku, oh yeah. Boku wa, we want to put a wa there. Boku wa, and in hiragana it would be boku wa shinpin. That's one word, shinpin. I separated it so you can see the kanji differences. This is shin and this is pin. And notice that the shin that I just mentioned there is the same shin in atarashi. It's the same kanji, right? Shinpin no, no kuruma ga hoshii. And then we add desu at the end, which is not necessary. But now, the reason I redid this video is because I said something off the cuff without thinking about it in the last video, in the original version of this video, which was wrong and I didn't even notice it. And I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so first of all, let's review and go back to the basic sentence, which is kare no kuruma wa atarashi. His car is new. That's the basic thing, which I did not put here, but well, all of these sentences will say pretty much that. I want to talk about the adjective though. His car is new. Okay. Now over here, you can do the more polite version. His car is new. Desu, right? 彼の車は新しいです. Adding desu to an e ending adjective is okay, and it's polite, right? However, what I said in the last video, which was wrong, is I just said, because I'd mentioned it before, the vulgar form of, or the more casual form, or less polite form of des is da, da. However, you cannot add da to an an adjective that ends in e, like atarashi. You can't say atarashi da. Okay. There are other versions of where there are other adjectives that you can add da to. So I thought I'll explain that to you today. First of all, let's stay on the e adjective. Let's talk about my father's car. And I'm gonna say my father's car is new. Okay. Now you don't know this word yet, but my father is chichi. Chichi. When you're talking about your own father, you say chichi. When you're talking about someone else's father, you say otousan. And notice this is chichi. So chichi is father, but it's not necessarily polite. So you use it to talk about your own father. If you want to make sure you're being polite, you would say otousan. And look what happens. Oh. Well, we don't need a capital, but hold on. If I type it otousan, see? You can't see what I did there. That's how you have to type it in to get that. Otousan. And that's polite father. And when you're talking to your own father, you might be polite, say, otousan. In fact, I call my wife's father, my father-in-law, I say otousan, until we had kids, and now I call him oji-chan, because that's what the kids call him. So that's kind of typical. People in the family are called by their position. So now the father has become the grandfather, so he is now called grandfather. And the same thing goes to the mother. Haha, well, why not, right? Why not get all this? Haha is... I'm not laughing. Haha means mother, right? But o-ka-san is honorable mother or polite mother. Polite word for mother. I guess we should. Not polite father. That's a little confusing. Polite word for father. 2 words you should know. You'll find these anyway. Anyway, that's the next sentence. So let's say that I want to say my father has a new car. I would say chichi no kuruma wa atarashi no da. And you can add no da, but it has 2 different meanings. It could mean that like has one that is new, has a new car. But it could also be braggadocious, like you're bragging, like my dad's car is new. So it'd be kind of a bragging. It stresses a sentence. It stresses the new in the sentence. So, chichi no kuruma wa atarashi no da. So it kind of gives it a punch to the sentence. Okay. So that's the way you can do it. And the same goes to the even more casual. Chichi no kuruma wa atarashii da. And this is what I was thinking of when I misspoke in the last video. Atarashii da. So to review, atarashi, which is an e ending adjective, can be simple, atarashi. Or you can be polite, atarashi desu. Or it can be referring to one of something that is new, like a new one, that would be atarashi no da, which could also be a way to be bragging or stressing that it is new. Oh, whoa, it's new, man. I got a new car, yay. And the much more casual, which is just bragging, would be atarashii da. Okay, so you have atarashi, atarashi desu, atarashi no da, and atarashii da. Those are all the versions. Now, here's what probably confused me, or made me misspeak last time. Not confused me, but made me misspeak, is that many adjectives do end in da because they're, it's so weird for me to say this. Just saying this is going to confuse a lot of you. Just don't think about it, but just remember we talked about the na ending adjectives before? Remember that? Okay, so the na ending adjectives, if you drop the na from them, they're basically nouns, okay? So, that said, you can actually end any na ending adjective sentences with a da. And one example of that is the word shizuka, which is a girl's name in Japanese. So maybe you met a girl named Shizuka. But it also means quiet. And let's say that I wanted a quiet car, right? Or I wanted to say his car is quiet. Let's do that one first, of course. That'll fit into our lesson easier. So first, let's make sure we know the word for quiet, which is shizuka, and then adding the na there. Shizuka. So shizuka, na is an adjective, but if you drop the na, it's basically not quiet or silent, but silence, the noun silence. And you can use it in other ways, which we'll get into later. But today, just for the sentence, to make the sentence, let's remember that shizukana means quiet. And let's say that his car is quiet. So we would say, kare no kuruma wa shizuka da. You don't need the na at the end. Shizukana would be strange. You use na when you're modifying a noun that follows it. So you wouldn't use it in this case because you're ending the sentence like that. So this would be okay to end a sentence with da in this case. Kare no kuruma wa shizuka da. Okay, and let's say you wanted a quiet car. In that case, you could say, shizukana kuruma ga hoshii. And you can add the des for politeness. Shizukana kuruma ga hoshii desu. That's pretty much the lesson. I know there's a lot of information to swallow there, to process. Check the description and don't worry about it if you don't get it all. If you understand even 10%, that's fine. Go on to the next video and get that under your belt. Little by little, these will start to make sense. And maybe, I don't know, a little bit later, you can come back and watch this one again since it's so long. It'll make more sense to you then. Anyway, thanks for watching. As always, I do appreciate the thumbs up or the thumbs down from Mr. 4, who always comes with his 4 accounts. Well, guys, I'm going to miss him when he's dead. That's all for now. More videos coming soon. And as always, until the next video, study hard. またね。